Hey.
Yeah, we had a little bit of an
Yay.
issue, but it's better now, for now. We'll see how
I
it
took the I took the link that we just did and I still posted it, so I'll still post both the links from this so that way.
that way she has it all.
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay, and wonderfully, I'm not hearing an echo.
Yeah,
So
neither
knock
am
on
I.
wood.
Yes.
I think because mine got
nice.
cut off funny, I'm going to just redo the lesson explanation because I already explained what organization was, but I'm just going to start over with the lesson so I know what's going on in my conversation here.
Oh,
Okay.
the no echo is amazing.
I know, it's wonderful.
Please.
Okay, so the lesson specifically was for a 6th grade class. And it was a math lesson, obviously. It's a multiplication unit that focused on multiples and factors. And specifically, they were looking at finding greatest common factors. And it was to prepare them for an upcoming unit in fractions. So at the beginning, the teacher started out by reviewing the terms factor and factor pair. And then he asked the students to write the factors of 10 on their own individual whiteboards. So some of the technology used in this lesson was whiteboards. He had a smart board, etc. And almost all of them had 4 factors, but a few of them forgot like 1 and 10. So he'll make a note to check with them later and make sure they understand what factors are using that informal assessments as he went. So then he asked the students to list the factors of 48. And as they volunteered answers, he wrote them on the board in no specific organized fashion. He just wrote them as they were called out. After they had kind of run out of numbers, he asked if that was all of them. And then one of the students suggested a number and he said, good, but that still isn't all of them. So they continued and he suggested organizing those numbers so that they could find out what was missing. So he starts out by explaining that.
Bless you.
Sorry. He starts out by explaining that he's going to show them a couple different ways to organize information. And the first way that he is going to use is a factor rainbow. So he starts with 1 and 48 and he draws a line between the two. And then he moves to 24. So 24 and 2. And it starts to look like a rainbow as you go. And as the numbers get closer together, again, the rest of the rainbow. And that is how you can find all of the matching pairs. And when you get to the point where numbers will start repeating themselves because they've already been connected to another number, you know you're done. So starting on the outside and working your way in was one way to organize the information. They also talked about what things were not factors. So he asked for them to decide whether there was a factor between 48 and 24. The students eventually figured out that that was not possible because fractions cannot be factors. But he did ask them to calculate it out and find out what it would have been. And then he showed them a tool called Factorize. And what that is they enter in the number that they are trying to find all the factors of, and they enter the number pairs, and it shows them to them as multiplication problems. So 1 and 48, 2 and 24. Instead of just the rainbow picture, now they have it as a math equation. So that's where he went from there. And then he was talking about, how you could make multiple lists to find common factors between two numbers. So, either make one rainbow for each number or make one list for each number and then compare them and see what patterns you can find. So that one was a pretty cool trick. And then it went on to discuss different organizational structures like tables, pie charts, graphs, etc. And I was trying to think of ways that you could implement that maybe to ensure their understanding at the end of a lesson or at the end of showing several different kinds of organizational strategies. Because one of the things that was listed in the UDL guidelines was to give the students time to process and practice each specific strategy so that they knew which ones worked when and how they benefited from using them. So my idea was to have something like one data set and show it in multiple representations, like a pie chart and a graph and a table, ... And then give them a list of questions and say, which representation helps you to answer this question? Which representation helps you to find the percentage? Which one helps you find this? And that kind of gives them that visual of, okay, if I'm looking for this kind of information, I should use this kind of chart. So that was kind of how that one turned out at the end.
Nice, the different ways we one way may work that so.
And now Miss Emmy Lou.
Yes. So, so for mine, I did the thinking aloud one, and it just went away. So it was pretty straightforward. It was strategies to use to show what the student's understanding and not understanding. So just helped clarify a lot. And it gives students a chance to learn from each other by hearing their peer thoughts too. So the idea is like the students talk out loud while they're doing their work, or like the student raises their hand and gives an idea out. It's like all like out loud instead of just thinking about it yourself and interpreting it yourself. And then other students can learn from their peers. And then it also, the teacher can kind of figure out where the student's coming from and see like their thought process. And then so it gave some ways that teachers can help their students and like encourage the thinking aloud. So provide clear explanation, use a lot of different examples, provide ongoing assessments to see where they are. And then it talked about using content, process, and products so you can see the whole outline. And then having discussions afterwards and figure out where the students are going and see if they're understanding. And then it's just a lot of like communication that helps. And then some of the tools, technology, they mentioned like online and offline tools, and they said manipulatives like yours. And then whiteboard, I don't really know what this was, web-based applets. I should have looked into it more.
I think that's
what
things
applets
like
are.
mine, like where they have, like if they have class tablets or like Chromebooks, they can go in and do practice in like little mini games or mini programs, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Flashcards with sentence starters to get them thinking, and then math drawing tools, and then calculators was a big one. So, yeah, that's mine.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Pretty straightforward, that one is.
Yes.
And Nicole,
Um,
hey, since we had that crazy echo, would you mind just giving like a 2-second reiteration of what yours
Yeah.
was? Because it was really hard to hear.
Yeah, no worries. I can do a rundown. So mine was the visual representations, And one thing that was really clear in a lot of the information that I read was that it's pretty important to be clear on how the visual represents the problem and how they connect, and providing different types of excuse me, different types of models for the students, whether it's a number line, an array, pictures, graphs, kind of, like what you talked about. And as as a teacher, you model, okay, this is what a number line looks like for this problem, an array, a graph, and that way it helps the kids to think about what the problem is, helps guide, helps give some guidance to ask questions about, okay, well, is this what it's supposed to look like? And then the lesson was a 6th grade class where the teacher had up on her whiteboard, or excuse me, I believe it was a smart board, like interactive whiteboard, had 2 different polygons, and she had 2 different students come up and decompose the polygon. So, okay, what does it look like if it's, first of all, you do it how you want to do it. So one kid had triangle and then the rest on the bottom, and the girl had a trapezoid and 2 triangles. So she had them explain what their thinking process was when they decomposed it, and then she asked them to decompose it with just triangles. So again, there were 2 different representations of triangles used to decompose these polygons. And she then put up a piece of artwork that was made using geometric shapes, and they each had a tablet with them and had a program. Is everything okay?
Yes, it is.
Okay, good. GeoGebra was the program they used, and it had the polygon on there and the different shapes that they could use. So she wanted them to fill in the shape using the different provided shapes without any overlapping, with, making it fit as close as they possibly could. So she walked around and checked that everybody was understanding what they were doing. And as they came back to as a group, they discussed area and what it is to decompose a polygon or any shape. And so she'll be able to use this information to introduce her next part, which was coordinate geometry, and while still keeping in mind those kids that need that extra guidance, maybe need a little bit extra help, so she knows where she can go with one group and where she can go with the other. So
Okay,
visual
that makes
for
a
me,
lot more sense.
yeah, visual representations, I know for myself, are I get a lot out of them, so I think they're pretty important in math.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
So is that better?
much.
Yes.
There's no echo going on, which is huge. So
Okay, good.
yeah,
Good. So
awesome.
okay, everybody's good.
So you're gonna post 2 links on our notes page, correct?
Right. I already posted the one from the previous. I will post this one from right now too.
Okay, and maybe just like put a little sub note that says beginning
Technical difficulties.
and due to technical difficulties.
Yes.
And then
I will
I'll
make
do
sure.
all the notes tomorrow and put them on that whatever it is.
Google Doc.
Google Doc, thank you.
And I started to fill in like a little bit of my stuff while I was waiting for everything to start. So you'll see half of my stuff on there, and
Perfect.
yeah. So hey, quick question for you guys. Do you know if the lesson plans that are due Sunday are for math or ELA that we're supposed to write?
I haven't looked.
That is a super good question, and I actually have it right here. Hold on one second while I look at it.
Because we're making our whole own lesson plan, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And I had emailed
Lesson plan template. Directions. Complete this lesson plan template for a 15 to 20-minute lesson. Use at least one of the instructional strategies and technologies reviewed in modules 2 through 4. So
Okay.
it can be either this week, last week. This is through 4, which would mean next week too, but since we haven't gone over it, that doesn't make
Right.
sense to me.
Okay.
And it says you can assume whatever background or prior knowledge for your class, but you must explicitly address this in your lesson plan and lesson delivery so that this expectation is clear. So if your kids are remedial, if they're advanced, you need to explain that. And then this lovely little template
Yes.
is in our Google Docs folder, and it has all that information.
Perfect. Thank you for clearing that up for
Of
me.
course.
All right, ladies. We'll see you
Yeah.
next
All right.
week.
See you
ya.
next week.
Bye.
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 Stop.